welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is April 9th, 2026. I've got some news for you today, but as always, it's not financial advice. It's all just my biased opinions based on some of the tweets and the thoughts I have about them. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the charts first. So ETH is up 1.5%. BTC is up 1.7%. Gold is up 1.5%. Hype up 2%. So everything's looking up. All the charts kind of match each other in the kind of the pattern and so forth like that. We pumped 2 days ago. We dumped yesterday, and we've kind of retraced most of the losses from yesterday back. Now, not all of it, but it is pretty healthy crab action, I think. Hopefully you are providing liquidity somewhere around here and harvesting some of this volume and changes, or say crabbage and sideways action, price action. Okay, so moving on to the news. So I have a few tweets here. I've got one from DeFi Dad. I've got one from Shalag from Yearn Finance. I've got a tracker here, and I've got this guy Crybaby as well, talking about YLFI token. So I'm going to start with Crybaby and then go backwards here. So Crybaby is a little bit angry because he did the pre-sale of YLFI tokens. 80% of his tokens are still locked. There's no governance vote happening. Nothing's happening. And a whole bunch of tokens were unlocked for some people, and they've been used to like do all kinds of shitty stuff in DeFi. Now, what kind of shitty stuff are they doing? So he's actually says he's filed formal legal claims in the U.S. and in the Netherlands against Donald Trump and World Liberty Financial. So yeah, so he's actually taking legal action against these guys for some of the stuff they're doing. So Shalag kind of explains what's happening as well with a lot of detail. Like, so he's like, first of all, like what they've done is they've taken $500 million worth of collateral, they've put it into Dolomite, and they've borrowed a whole bunch of stable coins from other people. I commented somewhere in these different threads that like lending your assets on a lending market exposes you just as much as providing liquidity to a liquidity pool. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm just lending, I'm not really thinking about buying that token, but you are heavily like exposed to that token, and in fact, like it's harder to get out because you can't even pull. Like if you provide liquidity to YLFI USDC and they dump all over you, at least you can pull out the YLFI and the whatever USDC happens to be remaining, and you can dump all over the market whatever's left, right? So there's at least that exit. But if you're putting it into, like in this case it's Dolomite, if you're putting your USDC into Dolomite and they come and borrow all your USDC, guess what? You can't pull out your USDC. You can't pull out their YLFI. It's stuck there. So lending markets can be more dangerous than AMAs sometimes, right? Now, of course, there's individual cases where it's the opposite, but you get my point there. So first of all, if they try to liquidate that $500 million, like he's got it here, only 50 million tokens, trying to liquidate those, it's going to take a price impact of 50% haircut, even if only 1% were liquidated. So he's saying only 50,000 of them, or 50 million of them are tried to get liquidated. It's going to take a 50% haircut. So price, if you look at this picture, you got 53% price impact trying to sell 1% of that collateral. So the point is here that this position cannot be liquidated. It's just there's not enough health in the liquidity pools to take this impact. So if you are lending here, your best chance is to try to get out as soon as possible, right? The utilization is up pretty high. You can probably still pull out if you have some time. And then he's like, but then you realize that 70 to 80% of the borrowed stables are recursively borrowed and supplied by the team's multi-sig, so it's totally fine and definitely no scam at all. So he's basically saying, like it's their stable coins, they're lending, and then they're borrowing their stable coins back. So they're just kind of like pumping up metrics, right? And DeFi Dad comes in and says this. He's retweeting Igneous. I saw Igneous retweet this as well. There's a lot. This is all over X today. Okay, this is the news of X today. And he's like, it would be sensible for World Liberty Financial to either comment publicly or just repay the borrowed stablecoins. Okay, and he's like, but the Trump team is used to psychopaths. So basically, people who just kiss their butt and do whatever they just take the on-chain raping for because it's Trump and his boys, right? Now, he's like, we can see everything you're doing. Like, it's not like you're doing it inside some boardroom and, you got the banker and the banker doesn't tell everybody what's going on until like the quarter's finished, and then it's buried inside a whole bunch of data with, bank statements and public disclosures of immense amounts of data for an entire quarter of business transactions. Now, this is stuff that's lively watched, and people are just clearly like calling it out for what it is. So Igneous is basically saying the same thing. Don't be the exit liquidity for Trump's cartel. They deposited almost $500 million worth of WAFL and borrowed the USDC. I don't know what the utilization is right now, but if you go down, there is a tracker here. It's a WLFI liquidation tracker. It's at kangaroo.credit.dolomite minus monitor. You can find that if you just kind of go through the tweets. I think he's been pretty good about, it's right here. So if you find this tweet from Shalag and you go down here, you'll see I made a dashboard to track this. So Shaman from ETH Strategy made this, and you can kind of see the positions. They're pretty healthy right now. One of them's getting kind of close, right? But they're not terrible. They're not insanely unhealthy. But the worst is 1.1, so it's getting closer to liquidation. But it's not going to get liquidated because it can't, right? So it's really dependent on WLFI tokens going up in value. Now, I always tell people, like, you got to really be careful about this, because one of the statements that was made in Twitter is that these guys are not going to repay this debt because they're thinking of it as they've sold out of these assets. However, they don't have to pay taxes because they actually haven't sold them. They're borrowing. So it's like, you don't have to pay taxes because you borrowed, as opposed to, you are actually initiating that capital gains event where you sell those things. But if it gets like liquidated, then they have to pay taxes on it, right? But my point is, they don't want the YLFI token, so they're not going to bring back the stable coins and repay them because they don't care about the collateral. The collaterals, in their opinion, is likely garbage. Now I'm speculating, right? I'm assuming some things here, but I personally wouldn't hold this token, and if I had it, I would never repay the USDC to come back and get this token. I don't want this token. So I think they're probably the same. So there's a lot of drama going on here. You can dig a little bit deeper. It's all over X and so forth. And then, who knows what's going to happen after Trump leaves office? Will this token continue to hold its health, or will it dump further? And if it starts dumping further, guess what? Liquidations start happening, but they can't. So we're looking at bad debt instead. Okay. Now, I will say one more thing. I think the Dolomite team, or whoever controls collateral and max cap borrow rates and borrow limits and stuff like that, is being highly irresponsible in this. They should be checking liquidity health before they're raising caps. Now, assuming that they have the ability to cap the amount of borrowing on this, and if they don't, then it's a bad product. It's not, they need, like any borrow market needs to be able to control how much of the assets can be borrowed versus it, or it needs to be isolated so people who are lending know exactly that they're only lending to this collateral. Okay. Anyhow, so that's that. You can check it out. You can do a little more research on it, and I will move on now. So here we have etherscan.eth. Now, Etherscan is an OG project, of course. I'm sure you know what it is. It's like one of those things that you take for granted that just needs to be there, but nobody really thinks about it. I'm not even following them. But anyhow, so they've added some new stuff to it. Now, this is going to get a little technical for people who don't dev. So I'm not going to go into like all of the details, but I'm just going to kind of mention them quickly. So there are some new things. So number one is you can open up the code in an IDE style browser. So you can see the code, you can see the like different contracts, the different, like the tree basically, right? You can also toggle full screen in a focused mode, open in block scan and Ethereum Remix, so you can kind of port the code over to Remix and then like play around with Remix as well, and then refresh the read and write contract tabs, so a cleaner UX as well. So you can check it out. I think it's pretty good. Etherscan is I've used it many times, and I think it's a must learn. Like you don't have to understand every little button on it, but you should learn how to, send some transactions on it, so that you can get out of positions that are, when the website's broken, or the team rugs the front end, or the team they get phished and the front end is like attacked, or it's a phishing front end and stuff. So check it out. Check out Etherscan. Do a little homework. Learn how to use it. It's a great tool in this ecosystem. Moving on, here we have Hey Anon. So Hey Anon they keep shipping and shipping and shipping, which is fantastic. So now they allow your AI agents to discover, deposit, and manage your vault positions on Yearn Finance. So fantastic! You can now tell your agent to deposit into Yearn for you, find some Yearn APYs, and which ones are good, and rebalance and stuff like that. So check it out. If you have an AI agent, you can plug it into this MCP. Moving on. So here we have Michael Svoboda. He's the CEO of Liquidity, and he's talking about Bold. And yesterday I did a tweet on Bold. It was pretty cool. I've got it here. So he's basically saying, Bold has minimal dependencies. It's a stable coin that actually is DeFi. And then he's got, 4 tweet examples of people talking about Bold being cool. And I'm not going to read through all of those, but I will kind of mention mine. Again, I'm not going to read all mine. It's a long story. I spent some time talking to someone in real life yesterday, and I was telling him about Circle and how Circle can freeze your money, but they didn't freeze the hackers who stole Drift's money and this kind of stuff. And he thought it was crazy. He's like, why would anybody hold this? And he's just a normie who doesn't have any crypto at all. And then I told him about Bold and how Bold is immutable, unstoppable, and they can't freeze any of your tokens and stuff like that. And then we talked a lot about other stuff. You can read my story here if that's interesting for you, but I just wanted to share this with you. Okay, moving on. So here we have Frax Finance. Frax Finance has revitalized an old idea in DeFi. The old idea in DeFi was that we should have all kinds of fiat stablecoins, and so people who live in different countries can hold their own stablecoin, or they can use their own stablecoin. So there is a Polygon venture now on Polygon to use Curve Finance as and FXUSD as the peg token for a whole bunch of different fiat stablecoins. So here we have Brazilian Reals. So you can check that one out. It's called Transfero Group. We have a Great Britain Pound from token GBP, right? We have the Australian dollar with Forte AUD, and we have the South Korean won with KRWQ Cash. We have, what is this, Indonesian Rupiah with IDRX_CO. And that's it so far. I think it's great. There's no Canadian dollar in there for me, which is sad. But, even if I were to hold Canadian dollar on chain, there's no way right now for me to turn it into fiat. So I'd have to find a way. That's the key thing about these fiat things. So if you are looking at these and you are thinking about using them, make sure you check if they have, if you're in, say, South Korea, and you want to use this Korean won, you got to make sure this Korean won has a route to your bank, some off ramp and on ramp, so that it makes sense. So you don't have to sell out into USDC and then send that to a centralized exchange and then sell it for their version of the won and then off ramp, right? So you got to check your exit route if you want to hold these stable coins or not. I assume that they do have some, but maybe it could be big stuff only, right? Like you can maybe redeem it for bank deposits if you have $1 million worth or something like this. Okay, so check it out, do your homework. But I thought I would share that Frax is continuing to grow their footprint. Fantastic. Okay, so here we have Flying Tulip, has some stats on it. They don't look very bullish. Like it's growing, but it's growing very slowly, right? So the revenue, the puts, I don't want to get into all the details of what that means, but like, the pre-sale were these NFT puts, right? And that money has generated $500,000. So 585K. That 585K has been used to buy the FT token, okay, and so forth. So FTUSD, so far we have minted 1 million only, which is pretty low. The APY is sitting at 4% on USDC and USDT. I don't know what this exactly means to me. I got to look at it a little bit closer. Margin lending. So they dropped some lending where you can. It's basically right now it's only lending and borrowing, but they're calling it margin lending because in the future your borrow and lending positions will be usable in other aspects of their protocol as collateral and stuff like that. Okay, so they've got like 140K, lots of stuff, lots of news. You check it out. I'm definitely I pre-sailed into this, so I'm following it with my from a distance. I feel low risk because of their design, their put design system, where I can exit edit my investment anytime back to USDC. So yeah, check it out. Consider it, think about it, look at it. I've got videos on it if you want to know more details on it. Okay, so here we have BailSec, Bail Security. They're currently in the process of conducting an audit for ETH Strategy. So ETH Strategy is about to drop this new bond thing where you can open bonds with ETH Strategy. Right. They have 3 products right now. They have Strat, which is like basically leveraged ETH position. I got a video on that. Okay. They have these ESPN, which is basically lending. It's basically the bonds, but it's telling the team that you want them to manage the selling and the selling and farming with the bond money and stuff like that. Okay, and then they have these new like public bonds where you will be able to get your own bonds if you want to do some gamma trading and stuff like that. I've got lots of videos on them already. You can check. I did a long talk with what's his name? Econ. And I'm going to do another talk with Econ soon in the future and talk a little bit more about this stuff, especially about the gamma swapping, which we didn't actually get into as well. Okay, so you can check all those out. Check it out. Bail is doing their audit right now, and I believe they are auditing these public bond systems. Okay. Next we have Bojam. Bojam is retweeting this image that he's like Revolt. Revolt is an app that you can kind of use to like pay for stuff, and it's like a wallet type thing, and I think it's got a Visa. So now that when you want to use this, he's like, why? It's asking him why does he need to pay? What is he paying for? So he's like, Revolt is forcing you to state reasons. I feel so protected. So you can see reason for payment, and in this case he's selected education, but there are all different kinds of things. They want to know, why are you spending your money? What are you buying? So we can report this to grandma at the European Union, I guess. So yeah, there's that. Check it out and think about it if you want to use this kind of stuff. I hate it, but anyhow, last one today. We have DeFi Investor. He's talking about the oil barrel prices. If you look at the oil chart, it looks like a meme coin. It's just skyrocketing. And he's like, I repeat, Now, this is what DC investor says. I repeat, we are in the stupidest rinse and repeat cycle ever, and they are bleeding everyone dry. So yeah, prices just continue to go up. Guess what? At the pump, you're getting sucked dry, and so forth. And then all of these people who are trading these crude oil futures and stuff, they're just making bank. Okay, just totally making bank on these things, and so forth. So anyhow, there's that. Consider life. Be careful. Be conservative. Try not to drive around like an idiot. Like I like to drive quite slowly. I try to drive as slow as I possibly can to reduce fuel consumption, as long as I'm not driving like a grandma and making everybody angry. I try my best to cruise as much as I can, try to coast as much as I can, and use my brake as little as possible. Now, I'm super conservative in this. I think it's not because I don't have money to pay for gas. It's because I don't like to waste. I'm very frugal in this kind of stuff. So that's it for today. I hope this has been interesting and useful. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.